8 celebrities who lied about growing up poor. 1. Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber's quick ascent to popularity was propelled by his narrative, which portrayed him as a young man from a lowly family who was brought up by a struggling single mother. Subsequently, news emerged indicating that Bieber's Stratford, Ontario, background was not as destitute as the story claimed. Even though Patty Millett, his mother, was a young mother when she gave birth to Justin, Bieber's grandparents were a big help to her. A truly impoverished family would have had difficulty finding music lessons, but Bieber had access to them while attending a private school. Even though he didn't inherit wealth, it has been questioned if his early years were truly marked by severe financial hardship. 2. 50 Cent. A large portion of the rapper 50 Cent's, Curtis Jackson, career was centered around his survival tale. Often discussing his difficult childhood in South Jamaica, Queens, 50 Cent was known for his drug peddling and violent street upbringing. He was well known for saying that he had very little growing up and turned to drug sales as a way to get by. Much of this is accurate. He did live in a bad neighborhood and go through difficult times when his mother passed away, but reports have emerged suggesting that his living circumstances were not as impoverished as he had claimed. Although he had access to comforts like cable TV and his home was kept up quite well, family members and old neighbors have painted him as being extremely poor, which runs counter to the impression of him that he has always been. 3. Eminem. Another well-known person who created a public persona centered around overcoming adversity is Marshall Mathers, better known by his stage name, Eminem. He has a lengthy history of being connected to living in a trailer park as a child and fighting his way out of poverty to become one of the greatest rappers of all time. But it turned out that Eminem wasn't raised in a trailer his whole life. He did grow up in a lower middle-class home, which was not easy, but he also resided in a number of different residences, some of which were in more secure suburban areas. Although the images of trailer parks came to symbolize his brand, they didn't accurately depict his childhood. Family instability was more of an issue for Eminem than extreme poverty. 4. The Kardashians. The Kardashian-Jenner family has come under fire for allegedly falsifying their family tree to present a more modest image than reality warrants. Although Kris Jenner and her kids had achieved enormous financial success in the last 10 years, the story frequently alluded to a time when they were in financial hardship. For example, Kris has stated in interviews that she was broke and needed to work very hard to make ends meet following her divorce from Robert Kardashian. But Robert Kardashian was a well-known attorney who left his family in a prosperous position. Even after Kris's divorce from Robert, her lifestyle was far from impoverished. She was still living in Beverly Hills and maintaining a luxurious lifestyle by most standards. The family was never anywhere near poverty, and the idea that they rose from the bottom is more of a marketing tactic than reality. 5. Lindsay Lohan. Although Lindsay Lohan's career has seen many ups and downs, she has always emphasized that she was raised in a challenging and uncertain financial situation. She has said that her family financial circumstances are terrible, particularly in the beginning of her professional life. Lohan's parents were by no means impoverished, though. Her family owned a nice house in Long Island, New York, and her father, Michael Lohan, was successful in the Wall Street stock market. Despite brief period financial difficulty brought on by her father's legal issues, Lindsay did not grow up in extreme poverty. Rather, she lived a comfortable middle-class childhood. The story of her financial hardships was mostly created by public relations spin during her ascent to fame. 6. Cardi B. Cardi B has never held back when discussing her time spent as a stripper and her upbringing in the Bronx, highlighting her battles with poverty prior to her rise to fame in the music business. Although Cardi B had a challenging upbringing and did grow up in the South Bronx, it's possible that her financial circumstances were not as bad as she suggests. Her mother worked as a cashier and her father drove taxis, so they had a modest but steady income. Being a graduate of Renaissance High School for Musical Theater and Technology, Cardi B has access to more advanced educational options than she discloses. Even though Cardi experienced difficulties, particularly after moving out on her own, her upbringing wasn't as dire as she often claims. 7. Iggy Azalea. Iggy Azalea, an Australian rapper, has centered a large portion of her persona on being a strong, self-reliant woman who rose from nothing. She has stated in interviews that she was raised in a remote Australian town in almost complete poverty and that her formative years were difficult. But it turned out that Iggy's family resided in Mullumbimby, a town that isn't exactly known for being impoverished, in a home that her father, a well-known painter, had constructed. Although her mother was a cleaner, their living situation was far from impoverished. Iggy has admitted that she may have misrepresented her upbringing in order to further her music career and project the image of a self-made celebrity. 8. Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, has frequently talked about her lowly beginnings, suggesting that she had a difficult upbringing. She also mentioned that, prior to her big break, she worked hard to support herself and her acting career. However, some critics pointed out that Markle's father, Thomas Markle, was a successful lighting director in Hollywood, earning a comfortable salary and sending her to prestigious private schools. Reports also indicated that Markle had a relatively privileged upbringing in Los Angeles, raising doubts about her portrayal of financial hardship.